Welcome back everyone. So in the last video, we discussed four of the UVM severity methods, severity levels, and we discussed how does each of those work. I will just remind you again. So the UVM info will only print the message or it will not, depending upon the severity level or sorry, the verbosity threshold you have set inside the UVM info macro. The UVM warning, it will always print since it does not have any third argument, and same goes for UVM error and UVM fatal. The difference being is that the UVM error will keep on counting, and even though it is critical, it will not stop the termination. The UVM fatal, whenever it is encountered during the first occurrence, it will just stop the termination. So I did mention something that you have a way in which you could set max quit count. So in our last scoreboard checker, we intentionally implemented a bug inside the checker, which is making UVM error to be printed or to be executed for every sequences. And there are 10 sequences in total, 10 repetitions of the sequence. So what if we want uh, the UVM the simulation or the run to be quit after we receive certain amount of errors. We could do that by using a certain method, and this method is extracted from the UVM report server class. So let's do it. So right now it is set to UVM error, and we intentionally flipped the checker logic. So there will be 10 UVM error macros. Just to confirm that, I will just save the code. And yeah, everything is fine. We just intentionally implemented the bug inside the checker. So there should be 10 UVM errors and it should not quit the termination simulation. Let's run the simulation. So as you can see it right here, that we did encounter 10 of those UVM error macros, and it is very critical, but it did not terminate the simulation like UVM fatal. So what if I want a certain condition in which if I receive more than 5 UVM errors, then it should terminate the simulation. So let's do that. I will go back to my test class, and here right before the super method in which we are explicitly calling the constructor of the build phase from the parent class, which is build phase itself. So right here I will mention the UVM report server, and if you mention it after this, it will show an error. So let's try to mention it right here. So first you have to mention UVM report server, and we could name the instance anything you want. Let's call it SRV, and then using the scope resolution operator, you have to uh, get a certain method from the very same class, and that is get server. So let's keep that as it is, and let's try to run the simulation. Okay, as you can see, it is showing an error, and it's a compilation error. A test line number 28, illegal declaration after the statement. Line number 13, declaration must precede the statements for semicolons. So yeah, this does not work. So instead, you should mention it right here. And let's try to compile the code for one more time. Yep, now it is working fine. So just remember, inside any phase, if you are setting a UVM report server instance, you should do it on the first line before anything else. After that, we will use the dot notation to get that method, and it is set max quit count. So inside this, you will mention the value, and by default, it is 0. And 0 basically means that the counter will keep on incrementing. It will keep on tracking the number of errors, and the simulation will not terminate. But right now, let's say the max quit count is 5. And if we receive number of errors more than 5, it should terminate the remainder of the simulation. So let's find out. So as per our previous simulation run, we were receiving 10 errors, and we did not did any modification besides besides the obvious one, the quit count one. So let's run the simulation. Okay, what is happening right here? As you can see it right here in the UVM report summary, we have another statistics, and it says quit count 5 out of 5. So 5 out of 5 quit counts are received. And you can see it that unlike the previous simulation run, we are getting only 5 UVM errors. It is because after receiving the error from the sixth sequence, the simulation is terminated. And it is terminated in the same manner as you will see with UVM Fatal. So you will get another stat, and by this we could limit the total amount of errors we could receive before the simulation terminates. Let's see what will happen with these stats when we are getting the number of errors below the limit. So let's set the limit to 11 or to 12. So by setting this to 12, the the quit count should increment 10 till 10, but still it will not terminate the simulation, which is very obvious. As you can see it right here that all of those uh, 10 UVM errors are being executed and the UVM count has incremented 10 out of 12. So this is how flexible the UVM macros are and how important these are. They can directly affect the simulation, and like the severity, the verbosity controls, you can also do that in the command line. So let me show it to you. First, I will just comment this out. I will compile the code for one more time. Did I save it? Yes, I did it. Okay, let me compile it for one more time. So as you can see it right here, since we have commented the UVM set max quit count method via the server, we are not receiving any count in our statistics, and all of our UVM errors are getting executed without any bound. So since we have already compiled the code, what if I want to set the threshold using the command line? We could do that without even touching our code again. So I will run the simulation again. But this time, just like the verbosity methods or overrides, I will add an argument. And for this, the argument will be in uppercase letter UVM max quit count equals to, and whatever you want to set. Let's just set it to 7 and let's run the code with this argument. As you can see it right here, that even though we did not do any modifications with our code base, we were able to achieve the same method with very little effort. And after the counter increments to 7, and if it increments further, the simulation is terminated and we receive total number of 7 errors. So what if we run both the thing together? So which one should take precedence or will take precedence over each other? Does the one which is written as an argument have higher priority, or the one which is written inside the code? Let's find out. So we will keep the same setting, and let's set it uh, to 5, and let's run the code with the UVM set max quit count argument as 7. So first I need to compile the code. Now let's run the simulation. And this time, let's keep it 7 only. Remember, the one which we set in the code is 5. Okay, you could clearly see it right here that even though we passed an argument of 7 max quit count, the one which is mentioned inside the code is taking precedence over the one which is mentioned as an argument. So this one have the higher priority over command line 1. So that's all about setting the maximum number of quit count. I hope you find this video useful, and please stay tuned for more. Thank you so much.